Do you sometimes feel awkward about the back opening of a pencil skirt? With this tutorial, you shall be able to address that challenge. Hello and welcome to my YouTube tutorial. I'm here with a special guest to draft this tutorial. I shall be teaching you on how to cut a long pencil skirt with full lining and back slits. We try as much as possible to minimize waste when cutting our fabric. You know Ankara fabrics do come in width of 45 inches. We start by cutting out our fabric for the front panel. Here we consider the largest area, which is the hips. In this particular draft, our hip measurement is 48 inches. Divide it by 4, it gives us 12 inches. So we are going to be cutting out 40 inches width of fabric on fold. So for the kind of measurement needed, we need our vertical measurement, which is our waist to hips, which is 9 inches. We need our waist to crotch line, which is 12 inches. We need our waist to our knee line, which is 18 inches, and we need the waist to the ankle line, which is 42 inches. Then for the horizontal measurement, which is our waist circumference, is 36 inches. Then our hip circumference is 48 inches. The horizontal measurement is placed on the vertical measurement. The waist circumference is 36. We divide it by 4. It gives us 9. Then we add 1 to it for that spacing, and add 1 for sewing allowance, making it 11 that we are going to be placing on the waistline. While on the hip line, we are going to divide the hip measurement by 4. That is 48 divided by 4. We get 12. Then add 1 inches for sewing allowance, making 13. You are going to mark that on the hip line. Then on the crotch line, you still mark the same 13. Most people don't make use of a crotch line, but since I'm not having a curve rule, so I make that so that my hip line it will not be sharp. The hip curve at the hip side, it will not be sharp, it will not be bulgy, it will be curved, it will kind of be soft curve. On the knee line, which is actually the lower thigh line, which is about 2 inches away from the actual knee line. Here we are going to be placing the same measurement we place at the waist, which is 9 inches. Add 1 inches for sewing allowance. We'll place it at the knee line. Then at the hem line, we are going to put in the same measurement that we'll put at this knee line. We're going to put it at the hem line since it's a pencil skirt. Right away, we are going to be connecting all the old lines with all the old markings we've made on all of the vertical measurements. So this is what we do. We start from you can start from the top or the bottom, connect all the lines. You see, the shapes comes out. But remember, this is the front piece. So what we normally do is that the front piece, that the hip side is usually lower, is usually smaller than the back piece because of the boots. So we shall be reducing half an inch at the hip level. It's only at the hip line that we're going to make that reduction. The waist remain constant, the knee line remain constant. For the dart placement, we are going to make use of the half bust span, which is 8 inches. Then if we divide it by 2 is 4 inches. We're going to add 0.5 inches, that is 4.5. We'll be marking it from the center front line. We mark it inward on the waistline, and the dart width is going to be 1 inches. Then the dart length is 5 inches. After you must have finished marking it out on your fabric, what you do is that you notch it so that both ends will be notched, and when you're sewing, it will be easier for you to sew. So this is that. And the next thing we shall be doing after placing after the dart placement is reducing the hips. Like I said initially, the hip measurement is the only one that shall be reduced, and this part is because of the boot. In the boot, it is bigger than the front, so we are going to take small and go to the back. Then later, with this one that we take away, we add it to that of the back. So we are going to be reducing half an inch from the hip line. So what you reduce from the hip line, you also reduce it from the crotch line, because we're not making use of French curve. So this is it. So you have a very nice soft curve. So this is it. When you're done with your drafting, you cut it out and keep it aside. Then remember, at the hem, you always had your hemming allowance. Remember, if you have 40 as your length, make sure you make add 2. Then as well, this is I'm using a lining for this. The lining now shall be shorter than this one by 1 inch, because this one is going to go over, as in it's going to go inward, so that the lining will not show. So now we proceed to the back piece. At the back, we bring the front piece, lay it down and trace it out. So the difference between the back piece and the front piece is the hip line. The hip line, initially at the back, we removed 1/2 inch. So we're going to add 1 inch to the hip line. Then we still have the same waistline, and we have the same knee line. So we measure it out. Though also at the back piece, we are going to add 2 inch allowance. Regularly, it used to be 1 inch allowance for zipper, but because we are going to be doing slits, that's a pleated slit at the back. What we are going to do now is that we are going to add 2 inches base, 2 inches slit, because our slit base, the width of the slit base is 2 inches. So we are going to make that our distance to be 2 inches. So this is how it is going to be. So we mark it out. When we mark it out, then we make the extension. Apart from, there's an extension we're going to make, which is about 12 inches. Well, we're making the extension 10 inches. So we add that to, is going to be 12. So you remember that your material is already on fold as at before you start cutting. Just kindly follow this video, and you draft it out this way. So after you must have finished drafting it out, you cut it out. Then also remember that you are putting a lining. Cut out the lining as well. So some people you can cut the lining together, or as well, or you can cut it like the way I'm cutting the lining now. So after you must have cut the lining, remember the lining will be shorter at the hem by by 1 inch. So make sure the lining is shorter than the original fabrics. So you take it out to sew. Then you take it out to sew. The first thing you sew is that you sew the hemming. After you must have sewed the hemming, then you turn it out, press it, use your pressing iron and press it out. Then you come out, and this is now time for us to do the slit properly. This is now time for us to do the slit properly. What we did here was to mark it at 2 inches, but basically it's going to be at 4 inches that we shall be sewing it. We are marking it 2 inches out. When we mark it 2 inches out, so then we sew at 4 inches. Then that midpoint of that 2 inches is going to be what is going to be the middle of the back pleats. Is going to of what is going to be the middle of the pleats. We shall, after you must have mark it out like this, you take it to your sewing machine and sew. If you finish sewing, then you bring it back again to your pressing table. This particular slit extension is drafted as 12 inches. You can as well draft it as 16. You can as well draft it as 16 inches, depending on the way you want it and the available material. So after this, we've taken it to the sewing machine. We sew at 4/4 inch. First of all, we sew at the zipper line. Then after that, we now sew any 4-inch extension. So that midpoint, like I explained earlier, the midpoint is what is you are going to use. That midpoint is going to correspond with the mid sewing at the zipper allowance. So it's going to make sure that it correspond. So you do both the right side and the left side. Make sure that they are flat enough. Like, just follow this video as like what you see. So if you've done this, the second thing you do, you also do the second layer like the way you did the first layer. Just watch. You see I'm going to hold it at that line that I drew initially. Then make sure the line is open. Then fold the line in between. Look at it. So the sewn place is going to be at the midpoint, while this line is going to be at the edge. So this is it. You press it out. You also do the same thing in the third layer. If you've done that same thing in the third layer, you press it out and you sew. Like I said, it's not must that it must the slit extension is 16 inches. It all depends on your availability of material and the desired result you want. You can make it 16 inches, you can make it 20. You can as well even make it 8 inches. It's just what you just want that you're going to do or what the client wants. So this is it. When you're making your pencil sketch, kindly take time in doing what you're doing and you don't rush things and make sure you have your pressing iron handy. You get it. If pencil sketch is beautifully made, I think it's one of the most impressive thing. Kind of sketch is really beautiful when you take your time to do it. So if you're done with this, you're going to take it to your sewing machine and sew that edge. When you sew that edge, you bring it back. You get so we take it to our sewing machine and sew this particular place, then bring it back. When we bring it back and this is being sewn, it's going to be like this. Look at it. Look at how beautiful it's looking. So what we are going to do now is what we then do now is start removing as in because remember that we use the running stitches while doing it. So we shall just remove it. Remove the first layer, remove the second layer, remove the third layer. So then when you're done with that, so kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel if you enjoyed this video. Share, like, and make comments. If you also have any suggestion about any kind of video you'd like us to make, don't hesitate to drop it to tell us on the comment section. Thank you very much for staying up to this time. We are coming to the end of this one. We shall be stopping in this place. Maybe subsequently we'll show you how we sew the 6 pieces, how we sew the pencil skirt. So this is just it, and you see that your slit is ready. So you're going to also put lining on the front piece. After you put the lining on the front piece, join them together so you get your skirt. So this is it. Very simple, beautiful, nice, elegant. So thanks for staying up to this time once more. Like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.